Hearing private member statements, I call the member for Maitland.
Thank you, Mr Temporary Speaker. And this year marks the centenary of the Battle of Passchendaele. This battle has a very special place in the history of Maitland, as many young men from our community fought as part of the 34th Battalion. The 34th was colloquially known as Maitland's Own. They were named as such as it was planned that the bulk of the battalion's recruits would be sourced from around the Maitland area. As it turned out, though, the first recruits for the battalion were actually sourced from northwestern New South Wales after they joined the recruiting march at Walgett, and these men were colloquially known as the Wallabies, and together with the recruits from Maitland, they made up the 34th Battalion. In fact, in researching where our 34th Battalion diggers came from, I read the story of a highly educated Aboriginal man known as Douglas Grant, who was raised by Scottish immigrant scientist Robert Grant, who saved his life when his parents and much of his Aboriginal community were killed in what was believed to be a tribal fight. Grant settled with his foster father in Lithgow, went to Scots College in Sydney and trained as a mechanical draftsman, a very accomplished young man. According to the War Memorial, or the Australian War Memorial, when the First World War broke out, Grant managed to enlist with the 34th Battalion in January 1916. However, as he was about to leave Australia, the Aborigines Protection Board intervened, noting that regulations prevented Aboriginal people from leaving the country without government approval. Undeterred, Grant enlisted again and this time successfully embarked with the 13th Battalion in August that year. The entry on the Australian War Memorial website goes on to say, Grant was a well-educated, articulate man with a thick Scottish accent. To his comrades, however, he was cherished as a remarkable figure who proved to be both honest and quick-witted. After 2 years as a prisoner of war and after his repatriation to Australia, Grant went on to lobby for Aboriginal rights and become active in returned persons affairs. As this story shows, it's vitally important to recognise the participation of everyone in the Anzac story, even those who may have had to go a longer route to get there because of discrimination at the time, and to note that it's only when we hear their stories in retrospect do we see the impact of lifelong discrimination and the loss we suffer as a community when not everyone is able to participate. I would have been proud to have called Douglas Grant one of Maitland's own. The 34th Battalion departed for Europe in May 1916. They participated in their first major battle in June 1917 at the Battle of the Messines. After alternating between periods of rest and trench warfare for several months, Maitland's Own Battalion participated in the Battle of Passchendaele, entering the battle in October 1917, 100 years ago. Like so many locations on the Western Front, the Battle of Passchendaele was fought in horrendous conditions with heavy rain turning the ground into a thick mud. The 34th suffered losses of up to 50% in this battle, which claimed the lives of so many of our young men. I cannot fathom the grief that gripped our town in the wake of this battle. Losing so many of our finest young men in a single battle was a tragedy for both our entire community and the families of those who fell. The 34th eventually participated in the Battle of St Quentin Canal, which reached the Hindenburg Line in September 19, spelling the end for the German Army and the Central Powers. Maitland's Own was eventually disbanded in May 1919. It is essential that we continue to preserve, record and share the history of their service in our nation's history. The Maitland Regional Museum, the Maitland District Historical Society and the Maitland Regional Art Gallery and other bodies in our community are doing fantastic work in educating our young residents about the history of our area, and we see this in every Anzac Day and Remembrance Day service where the participation of young people grows and grows and grows. I'd like to particularly recognise the hard work of many individuals in our community alongside the RSL, including Janice McDonald and Peter Bogan, two historians who have worked tirelessly to ensure that Maitland's Own were properly remembered in 2017. The Maitland Regional Museum was successful in obtaining a grant from the Department of Veterans Affairs to put together an exhibition commemorating Maitland's Own. The exhibition features memorabilia, stories from local soldiers, and even tells the stories of the women and children who were left at home during the war. It's a wonderful exhibition and it's open until this Sunday the 26th of November, and I would encourage everyone with an interest in our former and returned soldiers to attend the exhibition to see the contribution Maitland made to the Great War. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the member for Maitland. I call the Parliamentary Secretary in reply.
Speaker, as the Parliamentary Secretary for the Centenary of Anzac, may I offer my warmest congratulations to the community of Maitland for recognising the efforts of those that served in the Great War, and in particular the Aboriginal servicemen that gave their lives, that went to defend this country. We owe a lot to all of our servicemen and women, and I'm so pleased that communities are rediscovering through the Centenary of Anzac, as we move towards 2018, 100 years of commemoration, the enormous sacrifice and, in fact, the connections that families have with the First World War and the bravery of the men and women that served this great country. I thank the member for bringing to the attention of the House her community's involvement, and I look forward to the culmination of the Centenary of Anzac, where communities across Australia will recognise the end of the Great War in an appropriate manner.